Good morning. The time is 10:34. My name is Richard Williams. I'm Chair of the Kane County Development Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Arroyo, Doherty, Garcia, Linder,
Here.
Tepe, Leonard,
Here.
Iqbal,
All present.
Williams.
Williams present.
You have a quorum with the use of ex officios.
We have no remote attendance requests. I would entertain a request for unanimous approval for the October 21st, 2025 minutes.
Linder so moves.
Requested by Dr. Iqbal. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. We will move on to public comment. If you're here on the solar petition, you'll be able to speak when we call that matter. While we're doing that, why don't one of you hop up here on the short-term rentals? Whoever wants to speak first, introduce yourself, state your address. We'll get started.
Good morning. My name is Mary Davison, and I do want to address short-term rentals. I'm at 38 West 410 Borough Lane in St. Charles. After searching over 2 years, my daughter finally found an oasis to come home to, a place that is a retreat from the rigors of a stressful work environment. After I became a widow, she graciously said, "Mom, come with me to St. Charles. It's beautiful, it's tranquil, and it's safe." I did and found everything that she said was true. But then 2 years later, all of that changed. A short-term rental opened up right next door to us. I find that it is now difficult to feel peaceful and secure. There's a continuous stream of strangers coming and going at all hours. Some have been friendly. Others have been suspicious and unneighborly. We're just not ever sure what to expect. So my daughter's oasis and my haven have become noisy, unnerving, and stressful. When working in the yard or out with the dog, we find it necessary to be guarded and watchful. I was so encouraged when I learned that attention was going to be given to the issue of STR properties. My expectation was that the county was going to create a meaningful ordinance to alleviate the concerns of the residential homeowners. However, after reading the proposal, I was disheartened. I realized that in fact it provides a broad and unenforceable accommodation for STR property owners to continue their operation. Particularly disturbing is that a full 180 days was deemed reasonable. This sentences all of the actual residents to a significantly disrupting way of life for 6 months out of every year. As the primary stakeholders in this issue, we urge the committee to reconsider the 180-day stipulation. We'd like it to be lowered to that threshold that is absolute minimally allowed by law. Also, we would be curious to know who's keeping track of this. Some of our wonderful neighbors are in attendance today. We're all invested in one another personally, and we take pride in the well-being of our community as a whole. This is not the case with absentee property owners. Their investment is not in the neighbors or the community, but only in their bottom line. That's appropriate for a business, but it's not appropriate for a single family home embedded in the heart of a residential neighborhood. I really do want to thank you for studying this issue and for your time. And thanks in advance too for your help.
Thank you. I can just call somebody else. Work today. Thank you. Our next speaker is Susan Blasek. Ms. Blasek, you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Susan Blasek. Short-term rentals are nothing new. Vacation rentals have always been a popular option for family getaways. In the past, I'm thinking of the 50s, 60s, 70s. These rentals existed in places like resort towns and coastal vacation towns, for example. Yes, they were in many cases zoned residential, but fit in with the resort communities and were somewhat expected and even welcomed by the permanent residents living in popular vacation towns. Homes were rented out by owners by word of mouth and newspaper ads. With the advent of platforms like VRBO and Airbnb in the 90s and 2000s respectively, the type of rentals morphed by adding rentals that were no longer necessarily in vacation spots, but in many cases just right in the middle of quiet neighborhoods that are zoned residential. The idea of buying a home and renting it out as a way to make money became attractive to people trying to make a buck. These rentals infiltrated into residential communities. The owners of these properties are merely investors, not a part of the community, and therefore have no vested interest in becoming a part of the neighborhood in which their property resides. Many communities around the country have just outright banned short-term rentals. I would prefer to see Kane County ban short-term rentals in zone residential neighborhoods for the fact that they add absolutely no value to the community and detract from the neighborhood with their inherent transient nature. If, however, there are legal hurdles to making a full-out ban happen, then I would strongly suggest that this committee consider changing the current ordinance proposal to mandate that all short-term rental property owners are required to live in the property for a minimum of 9 months out of the year, allowing them to rent the property the remaining 3 months, or alternatively, the short-term rental owners will be able to rent 1 or 2 rooms of their home the entire year if they live in the home 12 months out of the year. This requirement would hopefully make the short-term rental owner a more invested member of the neighborhood, as well as minimize the housing shortage as investors snap up these homes from families that are just wanting to find a home to live in. It would also allow the homeowner to make an income stream for themselves without creating a nuisance for the neighborhood. I am not sure why short-term rentals in zoned residential neighborhoods are legally allowed in the first place. I own a home in a zoned residential neighborhood. I also have a kitchen in my home. I cannot, however, open a restaurant operating out of my home due to its zoning status. I ask then, how and why are short-term rentals, as they currently exist, allowed to operate in a zoned residential area when they are essentially a hotel? There is clearly a gray area in the zoning laws. Our neighborhood has put a lot of thought into the ordinance proposal. We understand there might be legal limitations, but we'd really appreciate hearing the reasoning for why these actions can't be taken. A town hall meeting would certainly be welcomed. Thank you for your time and consideration of this issue. I hope for the future of all unincorporated Kane County residents, a carefully thought out ordinance will be the outcome of this committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is William Rongi. Mr. Rongi, you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you. My name is William Ranji, and I appreciate the time to be heard and truly hope you'll understand and consider our talking points regarding STRs. I live in unincorporated St. Charles on a cul-de-sac, no outlet, dead-end street with 9 homes. As you know, that means only one way in and one way out. When the STR on my lane is hosting one of their usual high-capacity events, the lane can be full of vehicles, cars, SUVs, party buses, limos, etc. My immediate concern is how first responders will get through in an emergency situation. There is no way a fire truck, much less an ambulance, will be able to drive down the lane when it is full of cars, SUVs, party buses, and limos. To that, we have 3 homes on my lane that have elderly residents residing inside those homes. 3 of those homes are at the very end of said cul-de-sac. I am one of those homes. God forbid I have an emergency situation at my home and first responders are not able to attend to my 89-year-old mother that is living with us. When the lane is full of cars, party buses, and limos, I would like to know who is responsible or liable in that type of a situation. Looks like it could be a horrific and unfortunate lawsuit waiting to happen. Why aren't we moving forward with completely prohibiting or rigorously restricting STRs within Kane County? Naperville prohibited STRs in September 2020. Schiller Park prohibited them in December 2018. Hinsdale and Glen Ellen prohibit rentals of less than 30 days. Unincorporated Lake County prohibits short-term rentals of less than 1 month in residential zones. Again, why are we moving forward with a comprehensive plan to completely prohibit or rigorously restrict STRs in Kane County. They provide zero value to our communities. The individuals that operate the STR on my lane have many other STR properties across the country. This is a big business for them. Ladies and gentlemen, please understand, big business has no business in a residential neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ranji. Our next speaker is Deanna Davison.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm also here to speak to the specific proposal that is on the table right now with regard to STRs. We recognize that there was no proposal to talk about just a few months ago, so thank you very much for the work that's been done already on this issue. But the reality is that there is still a major disconnect between the actual needs of the community and some of the provisions in this proposal. But even if that was not the case and all of our concerns had been adequately addressed, there's still the issue of the fact that there is an ongoing lack of the ability to verify and enforce this ordinance. Section 9 was created to do that, and it is very clear on the penalty for operating an STR without a license. But for those that operate with a license, any violation of any aspect of this ordinance is basically met with the, we're just going to play this by ear kind of thing. And that's not sufficient as far as we're concerned. The community needs to have built-in protections for the safety and for the tranquility of their community. And that does not exist as yet in the current document. Another thing, just kind of in the same vein that I'd want to address is in section 3, points F and G with regard to inspections of infrastructure and safety. Again, it's very, very vague. It's not clear exactly what's expected here. There is no stipulation of the frequency of these inspections, only that there's a check mark that one was done at some point. There's no specific checklist as to the safety inspections. And as someone who lives right next door to an STR, I think I'm entitled to know as part of the public record exactly what is going to be required in that. I think the STR owner has a right to know that as well. The idea that an independent contractor can be responsible for a safety inspection is the fox watching the hen house. You know, this is a business that's being opened up in our residential areas, and any other business in Kane County, if there's a safety inspection, it's going to be conducted by the regulatory agency that governs it. And so this idea that it can be outsourced to just the highest bidder or the lowest bidder, we just don't think is sufficient. The other thing that I would mention too is that there is no mechanism in place in this ordinance right now for reporting violations. So myself and the people sitting behind me, we are the ones that are going to essentially be the ones that have to supervise this STR when it is occupied. We just kind of signed up to live our lives in peace, but now for 180 days out of the year, we are going to have to be the ones to monitor this. The county is not providing any resources for making sure and maintaining the fact that these STRs are within code when that house is occupied. And so it falls to us to do that. So we would like a clear and concise mechanism for reporting violations and some sort of assurance in this document that those violations are going to be taken seriously and that there will be actionable things that happen regarding those violations. So there's a lot more that I could say, but I'll save it for the next meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Davison. Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to discuss a matter that is not on the agenda or the solar petition? Okay. All right. If you will indulge me, I would like to move up solar petition 4673 on our agenda. I will note that the Village of Sugar Grove has filed a formal objection. I represent the Village of Sugar Grove, and to avoid any appearance of impropriety, I'm going to recuse myself from deliberations in this matter, and I'm going to request that Dr. Iqbal run this portion of the meeting. Is there any objection?
No.
Okay, Dr. Iqbal,
Thank you.
chair is yours.
Okay, I can do it. Should I do it from here?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay,
Clear mic up.
okay. Yeah, thank you. This is the solar petition number 4673. Petitioner is CFB Illinois Orchard Solar LLC. Mark, could you please introduce them?
Sure. Good morning. And Natalie Zine, our new Director of Building and Zoning Division, will be presenting this case this morning.
Thank you, Bob. Can you guys hear me? All right, we're looking at another solar petition today. The applicant is CFP Illinois Orchard Solar LLC. They are requesting a special use permit in the F Farming Zoning District to allow for the development of a commercial solar energy facility. It's approximately 87 acres of property located on the north side of Jericho Road, east of Illinois Route 47 in Sugar Grove Township. And this is in King County Board District 5. Here's a location map showing the approximate project area. Again, you can see Route 47 to the west. This is north of Jericho Road, down in Sugar Grove Township. Here's an aerial depicting the surrounding area. We are primarily surrounded by additional agricultural land with some residential subdivisions in the approximate vicinity. Here's a close-up of the parcels closest to Jericho Road. This is in the critical growth area of the 2040 conceptual land use strategy. In the resource management category, again, this is a category that supports municipal and county compact mixed use growth opportunities. It's in the critical growth area. And much of the growth in the resource management category will be the result of municipal annexations and land use decisions, as well as the county. Here's a close-up of that land use plan. Again, you can see the blue area is our resource management, and that green is designated proposed open space. I did reach out to all of the municipalities in the general area. Aurora had no comments. The Village of Montgomery also had no comments. They would just request additional screening should the project expand closer to Jericho Road, which at this time it will not. And then as Chairman Williams mentioned, the Village of Sugar Grove did formally object to the petition. Their letter and resolution was provided on the King County website. Here's a copy of that letter. I won't read through it, but I did provide a couple of slides with some pages from their comp plan, just as a reference. Again, I won't speak on their behalf, but you can see the project area, and in their future land use map, this area, according to the plan, is in their agricultural or undeveloped area. And then this next slide shows, it's a little hard to see, but I don't know if there's a pointer. The letter mentions a future extension of Gordon Road. That's this blue dotted line right here. If you can see that on the screen. So I just provided that blue line on our aerial map so you could see its location in relation to the project area. So for this specific project, I don't know that there will be any sort of implication for that future roadway extension, but I wanted to provide the slide so that you could see that. Here's our zoning map. Again, you can see the white areas are all F district farming, and then the hashed area to the north is Sugar Grove, and the hash to the southeast is Montgomery. This is their proposed site plan. It does meet all of the state's requirements for setbacks and our zoning ordinance requirements for setback distances. Here's a close-up of that plan. Again, the project takes place or is located mostly in this northern area of the 4 parcels involved. And then it's a little hard to read on this, but I just provided some distances to nearby residential properties. 0.3 miles, I think that says, and 0.5. So you have an idea of its location and relation to other residential properties. This project is a little bit larger than some of our other solar projects. This is effectively 3 5-megawatt solar facilities, all co-located. So a little bit bigger of a project. Here's their landscape plan. I just highlighted the green so it was easier to see. You can see the proposed screening along the border, and then this is all existing here. Here's another close-up of that plan. I did include our standard stipulation just as a safety measure. Here are the details. Standard fencing. Water Resources did review the project and provide us with their recommended stipulations. KDOT reviewed the project and indicated that temporary and permanent access permits from the King County Division of Transportation would be required. Health had no comments. And then this is in the Fire Protection District of Sugar Grove. They did review the project and indicated that they have no issues with the proposed site plan design, provided the petitioner agrees to enter into an agreement with the Sugar Grove Fire Protection District regarding the purchase of necessary fire protection district equipment to allow the firefighters to reach the farthest solar arrays that exceed 500 feet from the planned access roads. So in essence, rather than adjusting the site plan, they've agreed to supply certain equipment so that they can reach all areas of the solar facility. The EcoCat report came back, concluding that adverse effects were unlikely, and then provided their standard recommendations. I am now including a stipulation, just again as more of a reminder that the fence include this 6-inch gap along the bottom to allow for wildlife movement. They submitted the required NRI report that came back indicating that there is some prime farmland on the property. The site has an LE score of 29 and an SA score of 43 with a total score of 72, placing this in the low protection warranted area. The Section 7 consultation from the Fish and Wildlife Service came back indicating that a total of 4 species may be on the property, but the IPAC report also noted that there are no critical habitats within the project area and suggested that a biological assessment may be recommended to determine if the project will have any effects on the listed species. From the Army Corps, they indicated that there are no proposed aquatic resources on the project site, so no further coordination with their office was required. There are no state dedicated nature preserves in the vicinity. We did receive the mandatory AMA agreement. And then the State Historic Preservation Office reviewed the project. They did ask for a phase 1 archaeological survey, which the petitioner did provide. It was confirmed by SHPO that no additional archaeological investigations were warranted for the project after they conducted that survey. So here's our complete list of recommended stipulations. There are the 12 from Water Resources, and then the KDOT stipulation, the standard screening stipulation, the 6-inch of the fence, and the fire district stipulation. Here are the standards of a special use for reference. This project did go before a public hearing at the ZBA on October 28th. Staff did receive 2 written objections, one from neighboring property owners, the Marvin and Michael Fagel from ASF Corporation, Silverbrook Farms LLC, and then again, the Village of Sugar Grove. No members of the public were present at the public hearing, however, so we didn't hear any in-person testimony. The ZBA established their findings of fact, adopted them, and then ultimately voted to recommend approval of the zoning petition 5-0 with 2 absent. So we'll be talking about it today at Development Committee, and then this will continue on to the full King County Board on December 9th. That does conclude my report, but I do know that the petitioner team is present today to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, Mr. Tippy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have you updated the requirements for landscaping around the projects yet? We were talking about getting that updated for many of them. Have those guidelines been updated yet?
Not yet at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, next, yeah, Ms. Linders.
You indicated this is 87 acres, which immediately is bigger than most that we've done. You said it's 3 separate solar fields. So is this 3 5-megawatt solar systems?
Yes, that's my understanding. It's
Have-
3
have-
facilities, 3 community solar facilities co-located.
Have we had any co-locations before? Is this the first co-location we've had?
It might be the first one.
Yeah, I believe it, this is Mark McKirkhoff, I believe it is, especially to have 3 of them, together being proposed by the same developer. We've had some that have been in very close proximity,
Yeah,
but
around the
not
corner.
in
or-
a unified development sense like this petition is.
Yeah, okay.
There's nothing in the zoning ordinance that specifically would prohibit this. We don't have a maximum size or anything in the zoning ordinance. It's just so happens that this is the first time, and you can ask the petitioner for more information, but I assume it has to do with the capacity of the utility. So where there's more capacity, there's more opportunity for additional panels.
So there is no need for 3 separate petitions.
No, sir. This is a single petition under a single applicant and developer. But and again, I don't want to speak on behalf of the petitioner, but I think primarily it has to do with the financial components of these projects and their agreements with the utility companies that they had to be 5-megawatt projects. And I'd feel more comfortable if the applicant answered that, but for all intents and purposes, for the zoning petition, it's one project.
Mr. Gripe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back to Mr. Teppi's comment about the landscape, I would say politely, it's significantly lacking. That's just the way it's been. Any idea when we're going to be able to improve it to a point where the landscaping will actually help to hide all solar fields that are built?
So last month we gave a presentation, on some of the options with some suggestions for working with members of the county board who are interested in that and developing standards that would be, put in as a text amendment and then applicable to every petition coming in. In the meantime, the way special uses work and the way we've been working with them so far is that landscape requirements have been added where requested by the community or needed, to be the most effective screening. I think some of the details from the presentation last month had more to do with species and size, maturity from the starting point, which are items we're working with.
If I may, Mr. Chair, follow up
Yeah.
on that. Thank you, sir. So is this something, if we develop more robust criteria, that we could go back and do something to update the landscaping at other facilities?
We can work with the state's attorney on that question. At this point, the zoning petition is an entitlement. If they've been approved, they have to come back through the permitting process. So whether those regulations could be retroactively, for projects that have been approved but not applied for permit for construction yet. We'd have to look at those issues and build those into any ordinance changes.
Okay. Thank you. Is petitioner here? Anyone who want to speak for the petitioner? Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Gary Lanos. I just wanted to make one comment on behalf of the project. You'll see here, we're about a half mile off of Jericho Road to the north. There is existing tree coverage to the west of the project, which will screen a lot of it on the western non-participating side. You know, you won't be able to see it a half mile away, even if, you know, we have our screening there because of the distance. And, you know, I think, you know, we're confident because of those reasons, it won't be impactful to residential properties. There's only one within a half mile of the entire facility. So.
Okay. Anyone else who would like to speak for the petitioner? Anyone in opposition to it? Mr. Leonard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be voting against this position here. And the reason why I'm going to do it is really, there are multiple reasons. Number one, there are 16 recommended stipulations of approval. The fencing, the guarding around there, I'm not comfortable with that. And I don't think that they are going to have to change what's in the proposal if we approve it, move it forward to the county board, and that's approved there. So those are two of the reasons. The other reasons are the village of Sugar Grove. This is in Sugar Grove Township. And they're looking at annexing this land into the village of Sugar Grove for residential development. If this goes in to this area, I think it will really restrict the ability for new housing, which Sugar Grove is in desire of doing. So because of that and the enormous size of this solar field, 87 acres is the largest project I've seen. I don't know of any that are bigger than that. And it's actually 3 projects in one. So because of these reasons, I will be voting against this.
Mr. Leonard, let me ask you, has the village of Sugar Grove started annexation process?
They're looking at it right now. The administration just changed within the last year. And one of their key priorities is to put forth to the trustees the annexation of some of the township property for residential development. And this would be part of it. Sue Stillwell, the new president of the village of Sugar Grove, has stated that this is a priority.
So what you're saying, if they annex it, they would not allow solar field?
It would highly dilute the desire of developers to build around it.
I see. Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I need a motion to move this petition forward.
Leonard will move for discussion and vote on this.
Ledger will second for the same reason.
We have a second.
Ledger.
Mr. Linder, yes. So, anyone else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Arroyo. Linder,
Ledger, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, no.
Leonard,
Leonard, no.
Iqbal.
Iqbal, yes.
It is a tie, or I'm sorry, it passes 3-2.
Okay, thank you. That ends the portion that I want to preside. Mr. William will take over.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the next item on our agenda are the monthly financials. Those reports are on file. Are there any questions for staff? None. We'll go on to the Building and Zoning Division. Mr. Van Kirkhoff.
Good morning, Mark Van Kirkhoff again. Last month when I announced our new division directors, Natalie Zine was on vacation. So welcome Natalie. She is our new division manager for the Building and Zoning Division, and doing fabulous job in the transition so far. I'll continue to serve as the county's building officer and zoning official. And Natalie will be working with day-to-day management and operations with the building and zoning team. So with that, we continue to have a very busy fall with some very large new single-family residential still coming in, as well as our usual rush of projects trying to beat the weather with the impending winter coming up. I'm grateful that we are fully staffed in the building and zoning team. With that, happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mark? Okay, we're going to move on to Property Code Enforcement. Mr. Mull is not present. Is he online?
He is not, so I'll be covering for him. You have his report in your packet as well as your reports that he sends out. Happy to answer any questions that you have. The team has been operating shorthanded this past month. But we're glad to be back fully staffed once again. But happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions on the Property Code Enforcement report?
Sorry.
Mr. Caius?
Say you changed staff? Or you're
We
down?
had someone out on a temporary medical leave who's back
Okay,
now, so.
That's fine.
Okay, Planning and Special Projects. Mr. Toth.
Good morning, Chris Toth, Planning Division Manager speaking. On page 84 of your packet, you'll find your monthly report from the Planning and Special Projects Division. While we do report most of these projects out to other committees, E&E, Jobs, and Agriculture, I'm here to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Any questions for Chris? Seeing none, we'll move on. The next item for your consideration is an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 9, Section 2-320 and Chapter 7 of the Kane County Code to provide for regulation of short-term rentals in unincorporated areas of Kane County. You have a draft ordinance. I would entertain a motion for approval for discussion purposes.
Ramos.
Moved by Arroyo,
Leonard will
seconded
second.
by Leonard. I'd like to open the floor to discussion. I believe Dr. Iqbal has a red line. Would you like to address your red line, sir?
Yes, yes, I have. I have submitted it over to presentation.
Blair, could you put that on the screen, please?
Okay. And that is not everything that I had. Okay. Looking up here. If you can read it.
Can you use your microphone, Mo?
In section, I have two big items in here. Yeah,
Thanks.
that's there. Okay. Or let me get it on my computer so I can. Okay, there are several red lines here. In section 3, there is a word "is," which is not needed. And further in sub-item B, we are asking for an emergency contact. Rather, I would use the word agent. If an owner is out of state, we need someone who will accept the service of process.
I don't have any objection to that, but why did you strike 24 hours?
It's given that the agent is available 24 hours.
I think though that language reinforces that that person needs to be available on a 24-hour basis. So I would request that we keep that in there.
Okay,
Just so it's clear to whoever's reading this that their agent has to be available 24 hours.
Okay, that's no problem. So we can put that 24-hour in there. Then the original draft is saying only the number of bedroom, but also the number of toilets, parking spaces, and then the number of guests allowed should be spelled out.
Does anybody have any objection to that, Mr. Linder? I mean, Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With-
I still keep on going. Okay.
Okay.
I think
just
it would be
wanna-
helpful if we just go through each one
Okay,
of your
read them.
changes. That way we're not scrolling back and forth on the document.
You know, Dr. Iqbal, I have no problem with this change on point D. However, what is the maximum number of guests residing? What is that number?
But right now, it depends on the number of bedrooms.
Okay,
But I'm saying that it may be restricted based on number of toilets, number of parking spaces. So that staff has to determine what is the maximum number allowed.
So what you're saying is based upon the application, based upon the number of bedrooms, based upon the size of the septic system, based upon the number of beds, there will be a cap on the number of guests. You just want them to enumerate what that number is.
Exactly. If they may not be able to enumerate, but the staff should be able to do that.
Okay. Let's go to your next change.
Further. Then we go to section 4, A. It has requirements for the smoke detectors, but these requirements are old requirements. In 2023, I think from HUD down to the municipalities, the smoke detector requirements were changed. There are new technology, which has its own battery and lasts for 10 years. That has become standard. And also the way City of Elgin is saying, it is not one smoke detector that is close to a bedroom, but every bedroom should have one. And a hallway should have it. And if you have a gas, then you need a carbon monoxide.
So the standard that I use in my real estate practice is one detector within every 15 feet of a bedroom is what I understand the law to be. Now, I don't have a problem if we want to say one smoke and CO detector in every bedroom.
Objections.
I think that's what the
that what you're
municipality is.
saying?
Yeah.
What's the committee's thought on that?
yes.
Mr. Ford, why don't you step up, Mr. Ford, or have a seat so we can engage you in this conversation because you've done a lot of work on this. Mr. Ford, do you see any issue with that?
Thank you, Chair Williams. I don't see an issue with that. Alternatively, there's language that maybe we could reference the state laws. I think it's the Smoke Detector Act and Carbon Monoxide Alarm Detector Act, which set requirements. So that way the owner has to ensure that they're in compliance with the state laws setting out those requirements.
So I think the way to handle that, to your point, is just require it in every bedroom.
Mm.
And if there's a more stringent requirement required by law, state law,
Reference the state
federal law,
laws, yeah.
then that, because that can change from time to time.
Yeah.
I mean, is everybody good with that? All right.
Yeah, and okay, at the end of the sentence, it said it should be tested once a month. And I would propose that it should be tested before every short-term rental.
What's a test? Just pressing that little button, see if it beeps? Is that what that is?
Exactly, that's what it is. First count it is there, number 2, it beeps.
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Iqbal, with respect to testing that, who is going to be responsible to test it? The owner, some regulatory agency? Who's going to be making sure these tests are done?
The way it is, it was worded, it is the landlord who tests it.
Yeah.
It is his responsibility, but ideally there should be a third party.
Mhm.
do we have the ability to have a third party go in and test that every rental? Is that, it seems a little excessive to me, to be honest.
I think making it a requirement on the owner to ensure that it's tested once a month. The one flag I'd have if it's before every rental period is if a rental property isn't used every month, then they're not necessarily in compliance with the monthly testing requirement, which I think we would want.
I think maybe the application should have a certification as to when the detectors were installed and whether they're a 10-year lithium model or whether they're older technology that you got to change every year and when the batteries were last replaced. I think that would be a prudent change.
Sure. And, you know, we could work with staff to add that requirement. There's also kind of language that allows for the director of development in creating the application to add reasonable requirements to, you know, the affidavit and the application. So we could either put it in the text of the ordinance that the application requires that, or that could be something that we could work with staff on making sure is in the application.
Okay.
I think it should be in the ordinance.
What's the consensus of the committee? Is that okay?
For each rental or before? So the choice is before each rental or once a month, right?
Yeah, I don't,
I lost you. also.
I don't know if having a third party test every rental, I mean, if it's every weekend, I mean, how often do you test your at home? I mean, I never test mine at home. I have 10-year batteries in mine, and when they chirp, I replace the batteries.
But it's a single occupant. The occupants are not changing. When one person moves to, he may destroy it, the renter may destroy. How do you know that the next renter is getting good protection?
Well, if we're having a detector in every bedroom and a hallway,
Yeah.
I mean, that's boots and suspenders if I've ever heard it. So I think, look, I mean, isn't there a general provision in here that the renter has to keep the property in a good state of repair? If there's a damage to the smoke detector, that's the obligation of the landlord to take care of that.
Yes.
And I think that's implicit in the ordinance as it's stated.
I guess before we go, Mr. Chairman, a quick question. New guy here.
Mr. Garcia. Arroyo, excuse me.
Do we have a short-term rental list we keep, or is there a registration process in this county currently? How do we know a short-term rental is a short-term rental, or just your neighbor's just crashing over for the weekend, or family staying over it? Do we have that? Maybe I'm not asking this right, but do we have a Airbnb registration site for the county? I'm asking anybody.
Not currently. That's what we would be developing with this rental, with the short-term rental.
We're creating
program.
ordinance. We're creating policy. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe that brings up a point. I mean, there probably should be in the definition of a short-term rental. I know this seems rather implicit, but short-term rental means a dwelling unit with residentially allowed occupancy permits that are rented for a maximum 30 days for compensation. I mean, if I have a family member staying at my house for a week, that's not a rental. I mean, they might pay my utilities or whatever, but, you know, maybe we should just put some language in there that it's we're business of.
We're happy to look at language to maybe meet that concern, clarification, see what other entities, municipalities, counties have reference to a hosting platform, maybe.
Okay. Something like that.
Yeah, I guess, Mr. Williams, to my point, I guess, so you can never be too specific. Like going back to the 24-hour rule, you know, it's better in there because you can never tell people too much. They can't say they didn't know. You can't assume that we assume that they know. You can never be too specific. I think the more that's in the language and the restrictions are in the language, I think it'd be better off for the committee and for the county and for the neighbors.
Madam Chair.
Oh, thank you so much. And I totally agree with what was just said. Do we have a registration of these businesses? Because obviously these are homes that are being leased out by professionals and it is a business. And then is there a motel hotel tax as they do in municipalities that would be put onto these businesses.
So we are establishing a registration requirement. They currently are not registered, which is part of the problem we're dealing with.
Yes.
As it relates to the taxation, I would defer to Mr. Ford on that.
I just,
Yeah.
if it is a business, and it's a mini hotel, long-term mini hotel.
Yeah, right now the ordinance doesn't provide for that, but that's something if the committee wants us to look into that and work with staff, we can see whether that is something that could be added.
Do we have a hotel motel tax at the county? I don't even know if we have any hotels or motels in the county that are not incorporated in a village or town. Do you know, Mark?
I don't believe that we do. And I don't know, whether we'd have the authority to impose a tax or if that's a taxable business already under the state statute for Airbnbs.
Could you look at that, Steve, to see if we have the ability to impose a hotel motel tax and maybe we do that. If we don't have one, we should impose one.
Yeah, we can
Potentially.
have to look
And
into
if
that.
we do have one, we should look into see whether we can apply it to this short-term rental ordinance.
Absolutely, yes.
I guess, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lindner, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Quite different from what we heard from residents today. The complaints that we heard last time we talked about this were from people who were having these party houses. One night, 2 nights, 100 cars, all this sort of thing. And this thing is allowing rentals of up to 30 days. But as I'm scanning, I don't see a restriction as to a minimum number of days. So, those 2-day things that are really a nuisance, they really clog up a street for emergency vehicles. They impede the sleep and happy enjoyment of neighbors. And theoretically, you could have a party every weekend and every once in a while on Tuesday. I see that as a bigger problem than the 6-month rental.
And Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
quick, Roy here. I guess, you rent your house out 2 weeks out of the year. Is that defined as are we creating definitions of business now too? What defines a business if you rent your house out 1 week for a year, or 1 week out of the year? I mean, again, another question for the.
If you rent your house for 1 day a year and somebody's paying you to rent your house, you're subject to this ordinance.
Okay, so so this is a business, so they're subject to licensing from the county also then?
Yeah, so you can't do it unless you go through the licensing requirements that we've set forth.
So, Mr. Chair, again.
Yes, Mr. Linder.
So somebody who had lived in the neighborhood, raised their family, whatever, and as they progressed in their career, they were sent to Europe for a year and found someone who would rent the property for a portion of that year. They'd be subject to this.
Not if it's over 30 days. That's a long-term rental.
Okay.
This is rental periods under 30 days.
Okay, but a maximum of 180 days a year, right?
If you rent consistently under 30 days.
Oh, okay.
Airbnb, VRBO, that type of thing. You can't do more than 180 days
But a
a year.
9-month or 12-month rental is fine.
That is not, we are not regulating that.
Not yet.
Mr. Ford, to Mr. Linder's concern about a party with parking, how does this ordinance address that?
So section 5 speaks to the guest limit. So it would be a maximum of two guests per bedroom. Part of that concern, I think, is with the septic system, ensuring that there isn't strain put on the system. The secondary piece is that occupancy is capped at 16. So there is an exception if an owner or a renter goes to the director of the department on a case-by-case basis, and then he or she can make that determination to allow for a higher cap. But to the extent of these large parties, the guest limit would be capped at 16, and going above that without the director's authority could constitute a violation of the ordinance.
during the course of the party, 16 is still the limit? When they're,
It would be
16
a cap
people
of
max.
16,
Yeah.
16
it's
people
not
in the
just
house,
16 sleeping, it's 16 in the
16
house.
in the house. And it still is, that would be in a 4-bedroom house, the maximum would be 8 people. So, and yeah.
And if there were a request for more people, more than 16, that would trigger a special event permit request, which would have to be approved by Mr. Van Kerkhoff's department. So in that situation, they would look at toilet facilities, parking, ingress, egress, things of that nature, and Mark would have the discretion to grant or to not grant, as he does now, those special events based upon the ability of the property to actually handle that. So the situation we're seeing here on Burr Oak Road, there's 100 cars out there. And it's a cul-de-sac. I don't believe Mr. Van Kerkhoff would be issuing a permit for a special event in that situation. Is that fair to say, Mark? I don't want to speak for you.
Well, certainly would all be mitigating factors in doing that, as opposed to a property that may be on 40 acres with no neighbors.
Right.
You know, the contrast between the types of properties that we have in the county, vary widely.
Before we get to you, Mr. Grepp, I want to get through Mr. Iqbal's red lines because he has to leave in a few minutes. So if
I'm done except for one. The last one is section 6, and the word is, and I want to replace the word is by has been approved. If you read the sentence, then you will. The owner is writing a letter to the neighbors stating that the property is short-term rental. I'm saying no, the property has been approved for short-term.
I don't have any objection to that. Does anybody have any concerns with that, Madam Chair?
If I may want, with one more edit, has been approved as a short-term rental.
Okay. Thank you.
The one comment that I would have on this section is for someone who sends a lot of certified letters. A lot of people don't sign for certified letters. So if the green card is a proof of mailing and somebody sent out the notice to the letters, to the neighbors, I don't think we can have a neighbor essentially veto it by not signing the green card. So I would suggest that it be sent regular and certified mail. And I would also suggest that a proof of mailing may be established by an affidavit. The post office will sign an affidavit that you delivered a properly addressed and postage prepaid letter to them, and it was mailed on such date. That is a way that that can be satisfied. I don't know if we have to get into detail here, but in the administration of it, I think that would be sufficient. Mr. Lindner?
Okay, so, and I don't know how we regulate this, but so we have these regulations in place. And on Saturday night, in one of those cul-de-sacs, somebody's got 50 cars and 100 people. They come in on Monday and register a complaint, or can they call the
They
sheriff?
call the sheriff,
They can call the sheriff?
and then the sheriff will be able to enforce this. Is that correct, Steve?
That's correct.
Okay. If we could go to section 9 on the screen. So B says a person operating short-term rental without a license. I would like to say without a license or otherwise in violation of this ordinance. Because they can have a license and still violate the ordinance. And is $500 a day the maximum fine we can impose?
I'd have to verify in the code to see whether the code allows us to impose a higher one. Also state law. I can check that really quick and follow
I
up
think
with
it
you.
should just be the max that we're allowed to.
Maximum imposed by law.
Yeah. Mr. Greif's been sitting there patiently. I'll call you in a minute. I just wanted to get through. Does any member of the committee have any other questions or concerns? Okay, Mr. Greif.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A lot of great work. Thank you, Mr. Paul and Stephen and you, Rick, everybody, Mark, everybody's put a lot of work into this. It ain't perfect, but it's a lot better than we had. The thing I like about it, because I know Mr. Pennis has talked to me about this. He's got problems in in the district he represents. I was just made aware of yesterday of another house in the district I represent that has 14,000 square feet and can easily handle, and they're advertising for, I think, 60 people plus for parties. I think the critical element here is that to do whatever you want to do in your house, if you're going to charge for it, you have to register with us. And if you don't register with us and we find out about it, there can be issues. And if you do register with the county, as you should, and you violate parts of this, there's going to be issues. So it's going to take the squeaky wheel by the public to say, here's what's going on. We understand this. They're not. So once we do that, word's going to get out that Kane County doesn't really like out of control parties for which you charge large amounts of money to have people not being good neighbors. So I think that's good. The other thing I think that we'll be able to do is enhance this over time once we learn about what's going on, but it's going from basically no controls at all other than people complaining to the sheriff and the sheriff coming out saying your music's too loud, to us being able to do something about it, because there are some significant safety concerns, and I really appreciate this.
Yeah. And something else I'd like to address, and we'll be talking about this under new business, is looking at some of our other ordinances, specifically our sound ordinance. Because right now we don't have a specific standard. So we're gonna be talking about that a little bit in new business. And then also beefing up what is a nuisance under the county code and adding trespassing to a nuisance as well. And I'm gonna have Mr. Ford talk about something that we're working on for that as well. So this isn't the only thing that would be in the toolbox. If there's somebody who's having a party and bothering the neighbors, we're trying to give the sheriff enforceable tools to remediate these issues. Madam Chair.
I'd like to go back about the parking. It was mentioned by public comment that parking is clogging up the street. So if we ask the owners of the property to restrict parking onto their property, but if there's a large party or a lot of people are there with the party buses, etc., we don't want them parking on the front lawns, nor on the back lawns, which should be on a paved parking area or AK driveway.
I think that's a good point. One of the considerations, though, is in the county developments, the roads are often owned by the township.
Correct.
We don't, so we can't regulate the township roads. So maybe what we need to do is have conversations with our township road
Totally agree.
commissioners. And because they do have the authority to restrict parking on township roads and impose. So maybe,
absolutely.
I don't know, John, if you want to make a call to the St. Charles, this is St. Charles Township we're dealing with these folks, right? Maybe we could have a conversation with them. And I know you're doing a little circuit tour of the townships. Maybe that's something, Madam Chair, you could bring up with the
Absolutely.
township, because it is a problem.
It is a problem,
Yeah.
authentically a problem.
Um,
And plus it's ungainly, unsightly to have all those party buses and whatnot on a residential street. You don't want that. I mean, I understand businesses support small businesses or corporations with businesses, but it's a residential street. And this is a place where people spend a lot of money on their yards, and they wanted to have a certain aesthetic.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Linder.
Yeah, this last point from the Madam Chair, if we are limiting these party or these house rentals to a maximum of 16 persons, I can't imagine there being a bunch of buses, but her point is still well taken. To Mr. Gripe's point, if Mr. Gripe were to decide to have a party in his house to celebrate his birthday and another one for his wife's birthday and another one for the anniversary, and invite 75 people to each of those parties, he's not charging a fee. This ordinance does nothing to regulate that.
That's correct.
Just to be clear, and I think you knew that, but yeah.
If he has over 100 people there, that would trigger a special event permit.
Right.
And I don't have.
And maybe we ought to look at that threshold number for special event permits.
So whether you're in the room with the county or not.
I don't think Mr. Gripe has 100 friends.
But that's what I said. It depends on whether he's in the room or not when they're counting.
Mr. Caius?
Well, just for this, the sound nuisance, I'm here to, microphone, please. I turned it off. Lost my voice and turned it off. It's important that we tie that in with the ordinance. With this one, I understand, I don't know that it reaches out. This one won't reach out to that, but I have, in my area, residents who have neighbors that, I think it's important that we address that.
Agreed.
And for them, it's just more important. I think I have a question about, if we go back to the very basic nature of this, and I hate to do that too basic, but if these are businesses, but if it's zoned residential, I think, isn't there a conflict here that they shouldn't have a business in there? Because we're talking about multinational or multi-state thing, owners that own a lot of these, shouldn't there be, and I'm not sure how to phrase it, obviously, but look, I bought it, it's residential. How can they do that? They wouldn't be able to open a retail business there. If it's a business, then how do they open to the point, one of the speakers, how do they open a business that rents it out and they make money just on that?
I think I'd turn that over to Mr. Ford.
Sure. The authority for this county board to regulate this type of operation comes from a statute that allows to regulate transient lodging. Transients defined as less than 30 days. To the extent that, the committee's concerned that there may be not a conflict, but maybe a piece missing in terms of how this works with the zoning ordinance, that's something we can look into, give you a clear answer on that. And if there are steps that should be added, we're happy to work with staff to review language to clean that up.
Well, I'm not on the committee, but I'd recommend it.
Well, I would, yeah, we can direct Mr. Ford to give us more information on that. Okay, so we've got some changes that we're gonna make, so I don't think we need to take any action on this today, but if we could maybe have a red line for the next meeting.
Yeah, we're happy to work with staff to, capture these changes in the ordinance, bring it to the committee, as well as any other concerns that committee members have. If they let staff know, we'll take those into consideration and work with them and advise accordingly.
Okay. All right, moving on, subdivision, Ms. Orlick.
Good morning. We have a variance. This is a request for a setback variance. We're over in the Campton Township area of the county. We are south of 64, north of Campton Hills, and east of Anderson. Here's an aerial of the site that is requesting the variance. The owner wishes to construct a garage, a detached garage on the site. The issue with this particular corner lot is the front and side yard setbacks here are 40 feet, and it's difficult to squeeze a garage with those large setbacks. This is a subdivision plat that's showing that there are easements in the front as well as the building line. This is the site plan that the owner wishes to partake upon. He has a corner drive here. He's got a number of items that he's requesting consideration. Since the recording of the plat, there has been a 20-foot Ameritech easement granted along the side over here. As you can see, his existing site plan, he has an apron that for his parking area up here. Here's the garage of the house. Obviously, he would like his garage to be situated on the same side as the existing garage. But we have trees, the green areas here, as well as utility lines and the septic field. So he's a little restricted on exactly where he can put this garage. As such, he's requesting a reduction in the setback from the 40-foot building line. He's requesting that be reduced down to 23 feet along Citation Lane for the purpose of constructing this garage. The proposed adjustment does not have an increase in the overall density. The adjustment will not decrease open space or affect the layout of the surrounding lots. There's no impact to the public health, safety, and general welfare. Jurisdictions and neighbors within 250 feet have been notified. I received no negative comments. This adjustment has been completed in compliance with section 9-6 of the subdivision code.
No objections.
Any concerns?
I would move approval.
None.
Moved by approval by Mr. Lindner, seconded by
Arroyo.
Arroyo. Call the roll.
Arroyo,
Oh, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Tepe, oh, sorry, Tepe left. Leonard,
Leonard, yes.
Williams.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Orlick. Next matter is environmental resources. Ms. Walnick.
We have nothing this month on environmental or water resources.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business. A couple things. Mr. Gripe, don't leave yet. I want to talk about the landscaping requirements for the solar farms. We had agreed to meet with Ben Haberther. I don't know if you had an opportunity to set that meeting up, but we should do that. So that's the ball's in John Gripe in my court on that. So if we could, I could call Ben or you can reach out.
No,
to him.
I'll call Ben. He was on vacation for a week, so I'll call him
Okay.
right now.
So, because we need to wrap that up, I think. Sound ordinance. So a couple of years ago, we started a process to look at that, and it got extremely complicated and technical. And the problem was having the sheriff's department interpret the regulations to enforce the sound code. I think that maybe the better way to do this is just to set a day and a night decibel standard. And Mark sent over the Kendall County code on the sound requirements. And if it would please the committee, I would suggest that I turn this over to Mr. Ford and ask him to prepare a draft ordinance based upon the Kendall model with a few changes that I have indicated. And then, of course, we could circulate that to the committee and get the input from the committee. Do I have your consensus on that?
Yes.
Any concerns? Okay. So, Steve, don't leave without grabbing this from me. And then we have a situation in Campton Township with chronic trespassing on private HOA ponds. And so we've been looking at how to address that. And the recommendation was possibly to declare that, in addition to be a violation of the state trespassing statute, also to be a nuisance. And if I could have Mr. Ford give us a little flavor and his thoughts on that, I'd appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Williams. So essentially, there could be an ordinance prepared that would add trespassing to the nuisance section in the county code. It would allow for people trespassing on land that is appropriately marked or where they've received notice verbally that they can't enter it to be fined as a nuisance violation. And presumably it would proceed similar to violations of the noise ordinance. The criminal code allows for counties to declare what nuisances are. So that would be the legal authority for that. The elements would mirror the criminal trespass statute, essentially.
Anyone have any objection to us proceeding with that? So if we could do that. Does anybody else have anything they want to bring up under new business? Seeing none, there's no need for an executive session. Motion to adjourn.
Reports. on
Arroyo
file.
moves.
Reports on file.
Oh, thank you. Somebody want to make a,
Leonard will move.
Second. Oh,
That's
yeah,
what
was
we
consent.
said.
That's
Do you
right.
want unanimous?
Unanimous consent.
any objection? The reports are on file. No need for executive session. Motion by Mr. Linder to adjourn, seconded
Yes.
by
Leonard,
Leonard.